Welcome back to Automotive. Um, in this episode, it's going to be, well, more Chevelle work. It's my main project. Um, yeah. So where we started, where do we leave off? Let's go to that, right? And where we left off was I had the laser level, I got everything centered, and then I kind of put some clamps in place to where I think is important. Now, taking a look at things, now the next step I wanted to do was I wanted to weld in the trunk. But looking at the trunk, I believe I need to push it forward. That's a lot of gap, right? So I have it centered. I have my center mark, so I know where center is. So it shouldn't be nearly as bad to loosen it up, move it forward, get it where I want it. Because also back here, you've got a pretty large gap that I don't think should be there either. So that's not okay. Or, maybe it is okay, but I don't like it, so I'm going to fix it. My other issue is I believe this right here is too far out that way, right? This side looks to come in, and I know by kind of measuring, granted I'm measuring off of a laser center point, it seems to be off by half an inch to an inch up here. And when you see the way the roof sits, it does look like in here should be pulled in, and I'm not entirely sure how to do that. So that might be an interesting amount of work. But for this episode, I want to get the trunk welded in, and I want to start clecoing some things together. This guy, I'm going to do my inner tacks before I cleco it, just because I don't want to, you can see the gap here, I don't want this to pull down and mess up where I am here. Now, I might be sitting a little bit high, so this side could probably go down a hair, and then I could do that. But the other side over there is like right where I want it. So I want to tack that in so I don't screw that up. But once I get those lined up, get the trunk welded, probably where I'll stop. And by that, I want to get this guy clecoed in. I want to get the front of the roof potentially clecoed in. That's going to depend on this quarter panel, though. I'm not quite sure what I need to do on this quarter panel to get it in. It's going to suck. It does kind of line up where it's supposed to be, so that's the other rough thing, right? It's like, technically it, almost lines up, but this kind of feel like this should maybe be in, so maybe all I've got to do is actually take this inner part and beat it down. So I'll try a couple things, see if I can get it to look better. I got nothing else. I'm just gonna keep rambling, so guess I should probably get to work. I've been dragging ass on this one. So of course, in order to move the trunk forward, I've got to loosen the trunk up. So just going through, thankfully, it's only 4 bolts. They're a little bit of a pain to get to just because you go all the way through the frame, and it's not like you can look at what you're doing, at least in the way I have the car set up. If I had it sitting higher, of course, then you could be underneath. Now, it was just a little bit at a time. I don't think I loosened them enough, and I didn't want to loosen them all the way and have to replace the bolt start to finish. So this time I got it moving a little bit better. It wasn't a whole lot that it had to move either, and like I said, I probably didn't need to. It just kind of that, clearly it was wrong, so it needed to move. And this was just, again, measuring the trunk and making sure it was centered. So had to, had it centered on the last video, so it would have been pointless to go through, do all this work and then lose center. So get all those bolts tightened back up so we could move on to the next step. which is my first go at clecos, right? So I took out the struggle lesson of figuring out how to use it because, well, I overthought it. And then it's just kind of drilling holes all the way through, placing the cleco in there. Now the clecos do not pull the sheet metal together. So what you do is, you clamp it so the sheet metal's tight, then you pop the cleco in there. It will hold it in place, so if there's a little gap, the cleco's kind of going to maintain that gap. So drill the holes. I did not measure it. It's not symmetrical, it's not precise. Really, I'm just using them to hold them together. Maybe I should have been more meticulous about it, but I'm also not fond of, at least I had to learn this the hard way, I'm not overly fond of drilling all the way through and then welding that way, because I don't feel like you're getting as good of a weld. Maybe you're getting better. Tell me in the comments exactly, do you weld through both pieces of sheet metal or do you just weld through one? Drill the hole through the top one and then weld it to the bottom surface. And then here's another thing, so hit it with the flappy disc. Took me a bit to learn, and another thing I learned the hard way is when you're cleaning the metal, just wire wheel it. The flappy disc tends to remove too much material, and it kind of bit me, and mainly it bit me right here. So welding this trunk was a little difficult because I took off too much material on both surfaces. And then when you're welding that material to the old rusted material, it's even worse. I'm not great at welding, and the rusted material just kind of disappears when you hit it with the heat. So that was kind of tricky. I didn't record all of the welding of this trunk because it was a long process. So I go through and I have the holes drilled and I fill those holes, and then I go through and I ran a bead across the whole thing too. You won't see the whole welding process because it was a couple hours for me to weld. Now, having difficulties sticking the two sheet metal together, I can't really get a clamp in there all the way through. Like I said, the clecos don't pull it together. Feel free in the comments, tell me how you would pull these together and get them to weld better. This was one of those to where I definitely could have done it better. Thankfully it's fine though, like it's all sitting square. I'm gonna hide it with the back seat. Now it's no excuse to not do it correctly, but I'm just learning, so I'm gonna do things incorrectly, and that's just gonna teach me for the next time. And who knows what I'll do with this car in the long run, right? So before I go big rims and tires in the back, I need to do a lot of cutting. And there's a good chance that in time with the cutting, I'm just going to do a whole new floor pan. What I'm doing right now is making the car whole again, which it hasn't been in a very long time. So I'm, making the mistake of rushing through things I probably shouldn't be. And because of that, I've kind of taken a step back. Now, welding under here was not fun because, as you can tell, one, I'm not comfortable, and two, you can't really see. So I learned later, which wasn't in this video, but maybe the next one, is to get a damn light in there so you can see better. Because I was kind of just feeling around and then tack welding it, holding it in place. And then it's just more clecos, right? So before I was doing one at a time, it was obnoxious, didn't make sense, but this, the roof and the inner structure held together a lot tighter, so I was able to actually just do the 3 clamps, drill all the holes, and then pop the clecos in. I've got, for the most part, 2 to 6 inch separation. It's really the way I was looking at it, was I'm just doing it to hold it in place right now. If there's a proper process to the clecos, like an actual spec for how far you're supposed to put them apart, or a way the professionals do it, I don't know it. Maybe I should learn, I don't know. This worked out just fine. When I pulled them and welded everything, it worked out perfectly fine. I'm happy with the end result. This isn't a $5 million car. This is I'm doing this in my shop the best I can car. So all of this as well, when I go to flush mount it, is going to be lifted with probably a 3/8 spacer, and then I'm going to have to build around all the way around the window too, because to flush mount it, you kind of got to get it flush, right? The old windows had clips all the way around, and then they had chrome over it, and then you had all of the adhesive in there, and it's kind of sloppy, and the windows sat lower in there, so you got to lift it. So all of this work is going to be covered, which means I need to be sure to do that work at a much higher level than I'm doing this work. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm learning along the way. You guys are dropping great comments, and I'm learning a lot from you guys as well. So it's fun. It's a lot of work. I'm drained at the end of it. The clecos were a good investment, and the great thing about them too is when you take them out, you can just reuse them. So it's not like I have to throw these all away. They're not like rivets where you put them in and then you drill them out. Like, you literally put them in and then you take them out the same way you put them in. They go right in a bag and you use them for your next project. I've already had multiple times where I've taken them out and moved them to different locations. They're great, and it was pretty cheap too. I think the whole kit with the tool and like 50 clecos was like $30 when I bought it, which was awesome. I'd never seen them before YouTube. I've seen so many people use them in their projects. Yeah, don't have a whole lot more to say about this process that I'm not saying at the end of the video, so I'll just leave you to the music for that last minute of work. That was productive and a pain in the ass. Not good at welding, so having to weld in awkward positions is, well, even shittier. The trunk is on. I'm happy with it. I did have to do some not great things to get it to weld properly. So there was a gap, and I didn't really have anything to pull the trunk up, or the floor pan up to the trunk pan. So I just took a hammer and got where I'm welding close, as in I beat it into place and then I welded the damn thing, and that'll work. And remember, the package tray goes over that and welds to that as well, and then I'll do some panel sealer, panel adhesive, everything. I'm gonna put everything on it. Plan on putting everything on everything for all of this. Now, I got the clecos in place and a lot of this. I might have bit myself in the ass on this because I still have this piece I've got to, well, now force into there. So that'll be fun. This is welded to the quarters now. I don't know how happy I am with this side, but the other side's great. This side is just a little bent up, so it'll just take some loving when I get to actually doing the finishing body work, which I don't even have planned anytime soon. This is all in place and looking good. Remember, this side's all rusted to hell, so I'm gonna do what I can with it, and then I'm just gonna have to add some metal to it later down the road. That side looks good. This side looks good. In there is now welded, so the package tray can go in. What I really want to do is remove that stupid inner structure. So I've got this in place where it should be, even though it just does not look good. But I've got to modify both windows anyways, as in the windshield and the rear window, because I want to flush mount them. So it may not look great up front, but it will in the end. I need to check in and see what happened to this. I ordered this part and I haven't seen it yet, and I ordered it like a month ago, so I need to figure that out. What I don't like about the roof line is, let me see if I can get it good enough. As you can see, the bottom does stick out. So that's great. Yeah. But I'm in the corners. I'm where it should be. I'm lined up on both sides. So it's where it should be. And, you know, do the best as I can from there. These areas on both sides are just, I don't even know. That's going to take some loving to get that where it should be. So I might have to take the clecos out and fix that and go back and redo the clecos. I'm not entirely sure. Both sides are just not good, so that's going to be a problem. This side just really is not. It's just not functioning, so I'm not entirely sure what to do there. But it's getting closer. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Got a ton of work going on this car. Eventually I'll have my buddy's Escalade and I'll be working on that as well. And, you know, comment down below on the process. If you have any advice on how to do this easier, let me know, because this is not the only car I'm going to be doing this kind of work to. With that, thank you.